I'm Johan Rashibega, and here we are in our sound room at Holyoke Media, One Court Plaza in Holyoke, Mass. And I want to welcome Sarah, Marcus, and Rachel Hirsch, who are the founders and masterminds of the beautiful project that involves arts, education, and integration of different aspects of being an artist, but also teaching and inspiring people in the arts. And this is the Play Incubation Collective. Sarah, Rachel, welcome. And this is a perfect opportunity to get to know a little bit of how the Play Incubation Collective came to be and what are the activities and the programming that you have currently.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here. As you said, Play Incubation Collective, we think of it as a launchpad, really. We're an arts incubator. So it's a local launchpad for artists to develop their work, mostly in the areas of theater, but extending out to a lot of the performing arts. And we really want to be a resource for the people in our community to connect to each other, to be able to connect with other artists that can become collaborators, and a chance to really get the support at the very early stages of their work. So the earliest stages of writing a play or something where you're ready to share it in front of an audience, but you still need that collaboration and development support.
And it came out of just moving here from New York City and noticing just the immense amount of artists that have settled in Western Massachusetts, and how we felt there was a missed opportunity in really harnessing the power of collaboration with these multifaceted artists, and especially in developing new works, which we both already had an interest in and professional background in. Writing a play can be such an isolated experience. And we thought, what would happen if you bring more artists into the process of developing new work and really empower them to be an agent in the development of the piece rather than just showing up and reading it and the playwright then has to go and make all these changes on their own? What would happen if everyone really worked more collaboratively and essentially empowering everyone to be a dramaturg of sorts, which just means helping with that development and deeper understanding of what's going to end up on the page. And so we saw this this opportunity to bring people together in that way. And as Sarah said, also just encouraging more of a sense of community and cross-collaboration amongst artists in the area.
So we started in 2019, a few months before the pandemic, like very casually gathering in, we were in like the Forbes Library in Northampton. We were up in the top of the Fitzwilliams building, just gathering actors and playwrights to read new plays. And then when everything shut down during COVID, we gathered people online and continued reading new plays. And actually that allowed us to meet a lot of people that way.
It really grew during that time.
Everyone was in their houses. And we thought, well, a play reading, not all theater works in that format, but a play reading can actually work in that format.
And development of a script works particularly well because a lot of it is talking, right? A lot of that time is spent reading and listening and then analyzing what's happening and talking about potential changes. And it suited, the format worked well for what we were doing for sure.
So we met a lot of people that way who we hadn't even connected to, like having lived here for many years. And then that actually built up momentum to let us know, okay, this feels like it's more than just sort of a casual, like, let's meet every month to read a play. Like, let's start raising money and build something. And so now we're going into our, 5th year. We just, we're a nonprofit organization. We're going into our 5th year. We're expanding programming and using it as an opportunity to meet more people and welcome more people.
And this year, something that's brand new for us is we are part of the APE 33. They have, what's the word they use? They run the workroom space at 33 Holly in Northampton. And this year they're hosting a cooperative of various artists who kind of are sharing that space. And we've never had a home before. So this is our first year to do most of our programming in one place, which is really allowing us to expand that community further because of the consistency that brings. So that's been a really exciting opportunity as well, to just see what it feels like to stay put for a little while and make it easier for people to find us.
And we hope to use, that continuity and momentum to continue to be mobile and like be traveling around to multiple spaces, north and south and east and west, of Northampton, again, to gather more artists and connect artists with each other.
Yeah, and thinking about how the positive impact of a gathering online during the pandemic, and to your point, Rachel, of the work of playwriting could be isolating. So it was somehow an accidental good balance of being isolated but being together in a way that could create that interaction and that communication.
Definitely. I was going to say before, something that really came out of that time online was people were, especially artists, everyone was desperate for connection, but I think artists in particular, and theater artists most particularly, because what we do is live in-person work and it just couldn't happen, were so craving that chance to keep making their art and connect with other artists in that way. And so we found a lot of people wanting to join us in that online virtual space because it held such meaning for them to be able to continue to build community, even if it's virtually. And we've seen a lot of those folks continue to come and be a part of PIC stuff because they remember that time of connection and it stayed with them. And that was a really beautiful thing that I feel really grateful for, because that was something, as we said before, that we were aiming for with this organization, is really building that sense of community. And I'm just so pleased that that effort wasn't deterred by the pandemic, that we were in fact able to cultivate it even further because there was such a need there that we were able to fill.
And also listening to this idea of being mobile and covering all different areas in the region of Western Massachusetts. This has been true, particularly with the interaction of this beautiful and amazing experience that is the Youth Performance Festival, that it has now the involvement and participation of youth from Springfield, and even the interest on youth from Holyoke to know more about what is happening. So how it has been for you to see that response, those reactions, and especially the creative work that has emerged from this.
That's that's so exciting. So that, YPF is the result of it's like the ultimate collaborative, partnership, because that grew out of a partnership with the Northampton Center for the Arts, and Kelly Silliman, who's the program director there, along with PIC, sort of, starting this this partnership. And the Northampton Center for the Arts has a great space as a sort of local point, to be able to be there and use all their different performance spaces and have the performance be there. Our goal was always for that to be able to attract kids from all over, and for young artists to get to connect with each other. And so over the years, as it's grown, this was our 5th year, we've been looking for, partnerships to be able to have an even more kind of enriching and deep connection with different communities. And so the connection with Make It Springfield, when we discovered they moved into their new space and we saw how mission aligned they were of wanting to create a space, a free space for young artists to make work, that seemed like such a great partnership, and they were so open to having there be more, theater and performance and work in their space. And many of our mentor artists come from the Holyoke and Springfield area, and so that was a natural connection. So seeing that growth this year, it was a small cohort that was in Springfield, along like a much bigger cohort that was in Northampton. But just seeing the excitement and the commitment of that small group of students, and then the excitement, once they all came together for the dress rehearsals and performances, they immediately, kids who did not know each other at all were immediately connecting with each other because they all love doing the same thing. And just the looks on their faces as they were watching each other's pieces, and the validation of like seeing each other as artists, and from the mentor artists, saying to, kids like, you have a lot of promise, you have a lot of potential. I loved what you were doing with your puppetry. I loved what you were doing with your song. Like, let's talk more about how to continue this. The idea is it's this, great free program that happens in the winter, but that ideally it gives the kids that momentum to want to be doing it year round. And so like such amazing connections were made amongst the youth artists and with mentor artists, giving, validation and connections to future opportunities. And we hope for that just to expand with each year.
I think it also really epitomizes PIC's mission, but in youth form, of one, the accessibility of it, that it is completely free to participate in, which almost all of our programming is free or very low cost, because we don't think there should be major barriers to experiencing art, being able to make art. So that's something I've always really appreciated about YPF, and grateful to the folks that sponsor it to ensure that it can be free. And also this idea that artists can be empowered to be makers, especially in the theater realm. It's very easy to be a theater artist and not realize that you can be a maker too. If you're an actor, you're used to just sort of showing up and acting. And I think having young artists, youth artists, being so early on in life and learning that lesson of, I can make my own work. I don't have to wait for somebody to tell me how to participate or what to do or where to be. I can just sit down and think about what it is that I want to be doing and what I want to be making, which is
the most valuable life skill an artist can have.
And we're learning, and we work so much with adults too, adult artists. And I feel like working with us often is the first time that the adults get to learn that lesson too, that they can also be empowered to be a maker in the room. And so that synchronicity of seeing that in grown-ups and also in kids and getting to help facilitate that is really exciting.
And yeah, we're excited to continue that through line of, it's sort of like building the pipeline and flow of growth, of like offering youth programs to really, give that foundational experience for young artists, and then hope that they return and want to continue, working with us as they grow.
And the idea that you don't, as you said, starting something at YPF, but with the intention of continuing to maybe work on that same piece and expand on it outside of the program. The work that we do at PIC is all in development. So we pretty much never are presenting anything completely finished and polished. And I think, again, that's such a powerful, to give someone the opportunity to just make and not worried about, what's this going to look like in the end, and have that not necessarily be the goal, but instead the goal is just to sit in the making of it. It's unique, certainly for kids, to have that experience, and I think for a lot of adults as well, to just know that you have the ability to just play and expand and think and grow and let your piece be what it's going to be. And I know that I haven't had a lot of, I don't know that there's a lot of spaces that allow for that, a lot of artistic spaces that allow for that.
And certainly really powerful experience for children to being recognized, to be taken seriously on their commitment and their work, and celebrate their accomplishment, even though it is not a final produced work as grown-ups will expect to see, but you see the work in it and the commitment, and sometimes it shows more effort put than final produced works that sometimes are just makeups of something that you want to show off with no real feeling of the effort and the love that you put in that production.
Yeah, it's really important for an audience to see that, I think. Like, we as an organization are sort of pulling back the curtain on how things get made. And I think so many audience members show up to a performance and they're not thinking about all the weeks and months and years it might have taken to get to the point where you're getting to sit in the audience of something. And I think you can really activate audiences to appreciate so much more what they're coming to see when you've given them a chance to understand how it got to that point. And again, talking about youth artists, that becomes even more important, right? For the folks on stage, for the things that they've created, and for the people, the adults in their lives, the audience members in their lives, to see like this. Yeah, as you said, it takes a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of just trying and failing, and it's really exciting to be able to bring audiences into that process.
So this is the experience of the Youth Performance Festival, but you're doing multiple activities throughout the year, and you have an agenda of already scheduled activities. So let us know a little bit of what is coming and how can people get involved into it.
Thank you. We would love for people to get involved. So the, one thing we'll just put out there is our website, which is playincubation.org. And that's the place to go to find out, all of our upcoming events. And also a way for all of you out there who are artists to get involved. As artists, we have really like a welcoming ethos, which is that we have an artist intake form that anyone can fill out to show their background and their interests. And that's our first way to get to know you. And we encourage, anyone to come to our events and talk to us as a way to, sort of get to know us. So we have some great events coming up. I'll talk about our youth programming first, and then we can talk about the other events. So we have, we're doing for the first time this Friday, March 29th, like a parents' night out, kids' arts night in, at the space at 33 Holly in the workroom. So from 6 to 8:30, parents of kids like, first through 8th grade, you can drop your kid off and, go out to dinner, have some time to yourself in town. And then kids will be doing like some visual art and theater games and improvisation. And it's a real great introduction into, some of the work that we do in youth programming. And it's a good kind of preview of the summer programming that we do. So that's happening this Friday. And then we have 4 weeks of summer programs called Pick Kids Summer. And that's for ages, there's some camps for ages 7 to 11, and then a week of camp for ages 11 to 15. There's still space available in most of those weeks. And that runs
3 of the 5.
Yeah, there's space available like July 22nd through August 2nd in those 2 weeks, and then also the week of August 12th through 16th. There's scholarships available for all of those camps as well. And yeah, if you want to talk about our non-youth programming.
Yeah, and this year we're doing once a month, except for a short break in the summer. We're offering something called Pick Pips, which is Play Incubation Collective Plays in Progress series. These are all free to attend, and they all take place in the workroom at 33 Holly Street, and they feature readings of new works in front of an audience. And the audience at the end of each reading can engage in a conversation with the playwright to help in the further development of the piece. The playwright comes up, has a support person, usually a dramaturg or director, who's helping them come up with questions about their piece, things that they're wondering about, considering making changes about, and want to hear how it sits with an audience. And so you get to be that audience and participate along with the director to kind of talk about ways to fine-tune the piece. And the next 2 are coming up on April 7th, we have one, and then May 5th. And they're all from starting at 7:30 p.m. again in the workroom at 33 Holly Street.
And those are just like a really exciting opportunity to often be like the very first audience that's ever heard a play out loud. And as Rachel said, being involved in that conversation with the playwright, who often will go back and then make, edits and updates so that when you get to see it, hopefully in the future on a stage near you, like you were there at that beginning stage.
We should explain too what we mean by a reading, because I'm not sure everyone's familiar with that kind of presentation. So it's different than going to see a fully produced play where people are in costumes and there's sets and a lot of direction and everyone's moving around on the stage. A reading is what it sounds like. You have a script in hand, the actors have their script in hand, and they're reading it off the page. Usually they've spent, in the case of Pick Pips, they've spent time with those scripts, so it's not completely new to them, and they've likely had some time with the playwright and potentially a director to kind of talk about, to talk through things a bit. So there's a little bit of performance involved, but it's really just bare bones. You're there to listen to the text. And it's an interesting way to experience theater, because you get to... Well, so I'm an audiobook narrator in addition to being a theater artist, and you get to see that movie in your mind and create the imagery for yourself. And I feel like play readings work similarly. You kind of get to fill in the blanks of what you're not getting to see on stage. It's quite exciting.
Which is in a certain way the next iteration of what it used to be the radio drama.
Exactly.
When you have actors reading in front of a live audience, with the intention of creating that whole image in the minds of people listening through the radio or in the audience, to have that collective experience. But and you could even see in those radio dramas a Foley actor with all sort of different devices and objects to emulate the sound as effects and the ambience for that story whenever needed. So it's basically that beautiful way of keeping a format of media that has been so important for the performance arts and also for communications, but now in a way that is still intimate, empowering, inspiring, and also adjusted to the needs and the circumstances we have today with the technology and the way that we also consume media.
Yeah, in a way, I was thinking it's in some ways this antidote or sort of returning to the roots of the power, like of the simplicity and power of live performance, with like the proliferation of screens and just sort of like how much, people can sort of be in their own world. It's like this invitation to all be in the room together. And that isn't lost on us. Like, again, since the sort of isolation times of COVID, like we really do feel every time we gather, it's like exciting. We sort of appreciate just like being in that collective space and what's called on of your attention, right? Like we are, like humanity is like suffering from our like lack of attention in what is being asked of us, like just being bombarded constantly. So it's this like distilling of your attention, just on the words of the play that, we hope is like an exciting invitation to get to join in that space.
And I think it also creates a space for folks who aren't accustomed to being in theater spaces. It doesn't feel like that. It definitely feels more like a gathering. Yeah. Just you are gathering together and experiencing this art together, which is it's a remarkable feeling. It's unique and I think indicative of the work that we do, of just we want that sense of community gathering to really show up in everything that we invite people to as an organization. And Pick Pips has really shown itself to present in that way as a community gathering.
Yeah, and we do really invite just, any artists out there, any performing artists, any writers, any storytellers, just to come, because your presence as an audience member, creates that that space. Like it's sort of a giving experience. Like every person who's there is giving.
And anyone who just enjoys hearing stories.
Yeah.
It's really not, we want this to feel accessible not just to artists, but to the greater community as well. And that's really vital and important, especially for the work of the playwright in their development, to hear how their work is understood by and sits with any number of types of people that experience it, because once a play does go out into the world, into production, you don't know who's going to be in that audience. And so to get a sense of a variety of responses is really, really important.
So this is our conversation with Sarah and Rachel about the Play Incubation Collective, and a magnificent opportunity to get involved, to learn, experience art in different ways, and also an accessible way, and creating connection. Being based in 33 Holly in Northampton as a point of connection with everywhere in the valley. Certainly, now here we are in Holic Media, and this has been a beautiful way to also make that connection to grow stronger, and looking forward to see how that could also create a satellite possibly in the future for the Youth Performance Festival to have, same as the Make It Springfield, more opportunities for local youth to be immersed and to create and to be featured in this beautiful festival, with the teamwork that you are creating with PIC, and allowing also mentor artists to not only be artists but also to share their knowledge and their experience and learn from that experience as well. So I appreciate the work that you're doing, and I thank you for sharing what is going to happen, making sure that people know about it and get involved and participate.
We appreciate it too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.